So Wutawunashe comes out, slamming those who have been criticizing the corruption, the gross mismanagement and corruption that has been happening in Zimbabwe. And he's slamming those who have been exposing how the church, the indigenous churches, have been involved with the corruption and the shenanigans with this present government. He goes on to talk about the achievements of other religious organizations such as Zayoja Forward in Faith Ministries and the Church of Bishop Mutendi, the ZCC. He spoke about the achievements and what they have done, but in this video I want to show you the hypocrisy of Andrew Wutawunashe. I want to show you something that is very interesting about him, that he comes out as the spokesperson of the indigenous churches.
So I want to express it very clearly that the indigenous churches, which are really, my zone as their spokesman at the moment, men like Bishop Mutendi, men like Dr. Ezekiel Guti, have served this nation in ways which people like the writers of these articles will never even imagine or be able to do. Bishop Mutendi built, beginning with his father, who inspired even the revolution for this nation, numerous schools. Is continuing to educate thousands of children, black children, through productivity on farms. Mutendi schools and the schools of the Zion Christian churches are actually funded by farming activities and other things, from a philosophy that says the black people, in spite of all the oppression, should be self-reliant. And in a small modest token, President Mugabe gave a tractor or two.
So this is really good, right? The achievements they have done. But when you compare to Andrew Wutawunashe himself, what he has achieved with the Family of God Church, can you point out to say this is what has been achieved by Andrew Wutawunashe with in respect to doing something for the community?
Which is now being represented as a loan. And in a situation we as the indigenous churches are saying, the so-called traditional churches received massive grants. The missions you see, they did not buy even a piece of the soil. They have been continually sponsored by funds which are given to NGOs by governments which are foreign to support their activities. The indigenous churches have not benefited in any way from support of their own government. They do not get supported even from overseas. They get supported from the wits and faith of men like Ezekiel Guti and Mutendi. Well, myself also included, I do serve the people in whatever way I can with our organization.
So you yourself serve the people in whatever way you do. Right. I've got some projects here, several projects that Andrew Wutawunashe has done. I was in Fog since the late 90s. I used to attend the Family of God Church, and there are several. I've listed 8 projects here that have probably failed miserably if they were not scams, which Andrew Wutawunashe, they were quite very promising on paper, very promising projects on paper, but all these projects did not materialize. Ezekiel Guti's hospital was built, the university was built, they have done quite a lot. But what can you point on Andrew Wutawunashe which you can say this is what Andrew Wutawunashe has done with his ministry, Family of God Church? But the only thing I can remember in Fog, in my years attending Fog, the Fog, is the big offerings that he proposed, and people gave a lot of money towards these offerings, thinking these are projects that will materialize and improve the lives of the communities, right?
So we were deeply aggrieved with the insensitivity, deception for political ends, and the skewed morality that is inciting our people to believe that men like us, or men like Bishop Mutendi, or men like Ezekiel Guti have been, financed or, personally fed through a loan of the kind of despicable, nature that is being talked about. This is totally false, for one thing. But we also want to call upon our people to be sensitive of the reactionary political agenda of these things. I saw, and I was very, very disgusted, that
so this is where it comes to he knows that he's been exposed. He knows that people are criticizing him and the church leaders for supporting the brutality and not speaking up against the brutality that is happening in Zimbabwe with the military and the military government brutalizing people for their not for taking arms against them, but just for having a different opinion. Just for having a different opinion is dangerous in Zimbabwe. So Andrew Wutawunashe now, is now in the political mode of not accepting criticism. Now, I have 8 projects that Andrew Wutawunashe did. We have heard about Ezekiel Guti, how that he built university. He is actually going to say it himself.
the venerable Dr. Ezekiel Guti was put by one of these reporters on Twitter aside of a British war veteran who is now claimed to be a saint helping people. And Guti was said to be a looter. The veteran was said to be a supporter of poor people. What does he know about poor people? Ezekiel Guti has worked with poor people for years and years, uplifted them to the level of building hospitals and universities and schools from means he had to teach and train and lift people up. And now here are Africans trying to lift themselves up. And one of our own is promoting the same white people.
I want you to see the hypocrisy of Andrew Wutawunashe. Right. Andrew Wutawunashe did several projects that did not materialize. Number one project I want to talk about is there's a land called Leopard Rock. I remember it was in the 90s, late 90s, when Andrew Wutawunashe was collecting offering for people to contribute towards purchasing a land called Leopard Rock. And the offering was actually called Leopard Rock. Wutawunashe was saying to his church that we want to buy. We are buying that land. We have to raise money to buy that land. And people bought into the idea, started giving a lot of money. People gave a lot of money towards Leopard Rock. That was the project, the first project that I know of, and that project never materialized. It just faded into thin air, just like that. The number two, there was also another piece of land which was promised to be bought, which was called Glen Forest. Glen Forest. There was also, people pledged and gave a lot of money. They gave a lot of money towards to buy a place. Now that place, he had said it was a place that they wanted to partition stands. so that people can buy stands there and have a Christian community, right? So that they could have a Christian community. So the idea of having Christians from the same ministry having their own residential area was exciting, very exciting for people, because people would say, well, we'll have our own community. So people gave towards Glen Forest. That was, these were in the late 90s, 97, until up to, I think, 2000 or so. People gave a lot of money towards that, but nothing materialized. Up to today, if you believe there's something that materialized out of that, please come forward and show us. Show us that we are lying, that nothing materialized, but money was collected. Number 3, the offering 2420. I used to hear them saying, offering 2420. Now, what this meant was that Andrew Wutawunashe and his ministry, he had endeavored on raising 24 million by the year 2000. Now, that was in the late 90s when all these things were happening. He started raising money. People were giving a lot to that, and part of the mission, actually, the project was to build an international headquarters in Harare, and so there was a picture of a building. I remember in the Kampuzuma Rainbow Theatre, there was a picture of the building that they were proposing to build, to say will be our headquarters. And when you would look at it, you would be really motivated to give, because you would say, well, it would be good for us to have our own headquarters. And so these things did not materialize. The headquarters was not built. There was nothing. He wanted to raise 24 million towards it. Number 4, Waterworld. He told the church that they are up to buying the Waterworld. It's a piece of property that was in London. Oh my God. I'm thinking of London a lot. Okay. That was in Harare, London. Okay. Which is that Waterworld. People believed in the ministry. People believed that we are buying that land. That they are doing the process of buying that land, and people gave a lot of money. The money was collected, only to discover, it was discovered years later, that that it was far from the reality. Number 5, there's an offering that was called Total Onslaught, where this was an offering where people gave 100% of their salaries for 3 to 6 months. For those months, they were encouraged to live by faith and not asking for help. So this Total Onslaught actually happened when I think I had already left Zimbabwe. But this is the same, almost the same like the first fruits offering, which Pastor Chris calls for, where with the beginning of the year, you give your whole salary, in your whole salary that you earn to the ministry, and as a first fruits offering. So Wutawunashe now takes it to the next level, and he says for 3 to 6 months you'll be living by faith after you having given all your offering. Now these are atrocities being committed within the prosperity churches in Africa, and this is unspeakable. It's unspeakable. How can you is this not equal to crimes against humanity? Because you are manipulating people's by using religion. And people thought after those 6 months they are going to have major breakthroughs in their life. And nothing happened. I doubt even whether anybody even finished the 6 months giving their full salary. I think this is just not, it's just not right. Number 6, there is the Commonwealth offering. This is my most exciting one, because the Commonwealth offering, actually, it was an offering that I didn't even really understand. And Wutawunashe was calling for this offering from the late 90s. He was calling for this offering, which is called the Commonwealth offering. And but in the early 2000s, after the land invasions and all that had happened with taking land, Zimbabwe was kicked out from the Commonwealth. And so Wutawunashe didn't have a reason to keep taking the Commonwealth offering. So the Commonwealth offering just faded into thin air. Then there is Bethel Mission. Bethel Mission. I myself have never been to Bethel. When I was still in Zimbabwe, I had never been to Bethel to see that place. But I know that there are people who were leaving their jobs to sacrifice full time with their skills in that ministry. People would leave their jobs and go full time to work for the ministry with their skills. Number 8, the building brigade. This one happened when I had already left Zimbabwe. I don't know much about it, but according to the information that I have, is that some people lost their houses with this project, this building brigade project, which Wutawunashe proposed. And people would remortgage their houses and take loans to pay folk. Then the people would have the people with building skills would come forward to donate their building skills for building housing business. I think it was a housing project somehow, that whether it went wrong or it was a pure scam, God knows. Some people lost bank loans because of that. They took loans from the banks thinking they are going to have their houses being built, but only the lucky ones, like close relatives and other people, got substandard houses built for them. The rest, they all lost. It was all down the drain. Now, having people who are poor within the church, and then they see that as an opportunity to also have their own property, they go out, take a loan to the bank, and then eventually succeed in taking that loan, give it to folk. The housing project doesn't materialize, and then they are left with that loan to pay. Now, if you think I'm fabricating these things against the Family of God Church, please come also with your own information and say it out and tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that these offerings were not taken. Prove to me that these projects are there, this project materialized. We want to see Leopard Rock, Glen Forest, offering 2420, Waterworld, total onslaught. Hey, total onslaught, bringing your whole salary for 3 to 6 months. Guys, this is inhuman. Commonwealth offering. I think the Queen should know about this one. That there's a guy who took an offering in Zimbabwe who was taking offerings for the Commonwealth. The Queen has to know this. It's because it's ridiculous that Wutawunashe now, this is the man who is the advisor to the president of Zimbabwe. Bethel Mission, building brigade. Now, some people may not be happy that I'm saying these things. But if you are not happy that I'm saying these things, please come forward also. Speak out also. Come in the building thing is not only Wutawunashe has tried it. There is another so-called leader in Zimbabwe who tried it and it failed miserably. And there is another, Walter Magaya also tried it. Right now, he is not even updating people what's happening with those stands that people paid upfront for. He did his program called Yada Connect and all this and that. And people paid money thinking that they are going to have an opportunity to buy stands and build houses. And Walter Magaya is quiet. No, he's not coming out on TV to tell people what's happening. So let the church be the church. Let people just come and learn God's word in church. It's not a place to come and do projects. If you want projects, go and do projects out there, which is outside of the church. The church must be engaged in teaching people biblical teaching, sound teaching, so that people can understand the Bible. Not to come and motivate people about prosperity and making money. Once making money comes into the church, once you start doing projects, money projects into the church, that's a cocktail for disaster. And Wutawunashe has done that, and this is disastrous, absolutely disastrous.